Alright, TASM 2 time. Now we get to the reason I'm talking about these movies. Because this is the one that features the villain that is coming back in some way, shape, or form. As I informed you previously, Jamie Foxx is returning as Electro in the next Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, Spider-Man 3. We don't know its official name yet. So let's talk about Jamie Foxx's Electro's first appearance. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the second live-action Spider-Man movie with Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker / Spider-Man. It came out in May of 2014, so about a month after Captain America: The Winter Soldier came out, to put it into perspective. And in this movie, Peter Parker is dealing with a lot of stuff. Yeah, if you thought he was dealing with a few things in the first movie, he deals with like twice as many things in this one. And if you recall in my video about the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, I actually said that I like this movie more than the first one, which, yes, is an unpopular opinion. And the reason for that, plain and simple, is because there are more things I like in this movie than in the first one. Yes, there are a lot more story arcs in this movie. It's a lot more convoluted than the first one. But all the story arcs, as numerous as they are, I think they're all pretty good. The most important one in this movie, if you ask me, is Peter and Gwen Stacy. They're continuing their romantic relationship, but throughout this movie they're on again, off again for a lot of it, because they just graduated high school. So Gwen Stacy has actually gotten into Oxford School in England. So Peter and Gwen find themselves on different paths, which is a very common thing that happens to high school relationships, you know? It's very relatable that way. But you feel like Gwen Stacy is just so important to Peter. She is what he's fighting for. Whenever he goes out as Spider-Man, he's fighting to save people for her. Or at least that's how it feels to me. And then we have the villains. And yes, that is villains plural. The big main villain in this movie is Jamie Foxx as Max Dillon, aka Electro. Now, when this movie was coming out, they were also advertising that Green Goblin and Rhino were gonna be in this movie. But really, they're just add-ons. They're barely in the movie compared to Electro. And Jamie Foxx's Electro, I thought was a great villain, much better than the Lizard in the first Amazing Spider-Man. Because he starts out, he's Max Dillon, he's an electrical engineer at Oscorp, and he's a really nerdy, like he's a loner, he's kind of a dork, he's not really well in the head. He's obsessed with Spider-Man to an unhealthy degree, but then through a series of unfortunate incidents, Spider-Man lets him down, he becomes Electro, and now he has a personal vendetta against the Webhead. And what I like about Electro is, first of all, his design is a lot better than the Lizard's. They based him off the Ultimate Comics, not the original Electro design from the 60s, which is fine with me. But Electro in this movie is a villain that at least I have not really seen before. One that is not really all there in the head. He's not really street smart. In fact, if I had to guess, he's probably autistic in some way, shape, or form. I mean, he's socially awkward, he has no friends, he doesn't know how to act around people, and he's very easily triggered. Those are, in fact, symptoms of some forms of autism. So yeah, I felt like Electro was very well written in this movie. And plus, the way he looks and sounds, I mean, come on. Visually, this movie is a lot better than the first one, and audio-wise as well. When Electro talks, you hear the electricity in his voice. When you're watching with surround sound with a nice subwoofer, like I did last night, you hear Electro's voice in the bass. It's really cool. And the things Electro can do, I mean, he's literally an electric man. He is composed of electricity, and he craves it. So he can do a lot. Again, visually, it just gets out of control. It's awesome. So Electro is a big plus in this movie to me. The storyline in this movie that I actually did have something of a problem with was the Harry Osborn storyline. In this movie, we have Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn, who we didn't see in the first movie. He's a childhood friend of Peter Parker, so they reconnect for the first time in like 10 years. And at first, when he comes on screen, you're like, oh great, another thing that Peter has to deal with in this movie? But then when they are reconnecting out by the river, you're like, oh okay, I feel this. This is actually a pretty good scene. So I was fine with it at that point, but then it's revealed that Harry is suffering from this degenerative disease that's gonna kill him. And at that point, Harry just starts to lose his mind and go nuts. And that's when you're like, okay, I see why Dane DeHaan was cast, because this guy is just clearly unstable. Harry Osborn is the storyline in this movie I felt did not have to be in it, especially when Harry becomes the Green Goblin. He becomes the Green Goblin at the very end of the movie, and it does feel very out of place. You're like, oh my god, where did this come from? It just feels, yeah, it doesn't feel like it's supposed to be in this movie. And on top of all of that, Peter is still finding out more stuff about his parents, and Oscorp, and the secrets that his parents had in Oscorp, which again, I never cared for. It ties in with the Harry storyline, and for that reason, I felt like that didn't have to be in this movie either. So yeah, the fact that I do like this movie more than the first one, but I still find that it has flaws, means that this whole Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man franchise, to me, is just, it's flawed, and it's just not my favorite live-action Spider-Man franchise, although I do still find it quite enjoyable at times. The action in this movie is awesome. When Spider-Man is swinging all over the city, like the beginning of the movie, there's this nice, big, juicy action scene, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Because you're like, this is definitive Spider-Man. The suit. The design of the Spider-Man suit in this movie is miles ahead of the design of the first one, in my opinion. opinion, because it more closely resembles Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man suit. It looks more like classic Spider-Man. It doesn't look punk anymore. The eyepieces are nice and wide and they're white, and the spider symbol is really good and well designed. Just everything about this Spider-Man suit I absolutely loved. And like I said, Electro's design is also really good. So when you have amazingly designed Spider-Man fighting amazingly designed Electro, those scenes visually are the best in the movie. They are so awesome looking, man. Very entertaining. And another improvement I felt this movie has over the first one, the score. The musical score in this movie was composed by none other than Hans Zimmer himself. And oh my god, it is an amazing Spider-Man score. Again, the first big Spider-Man scene in this movie, when he's swinging around New York, you hear those trumpets blaring, bum bum bum, bum 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 bum. And those electric synthesized, I think they sound like guitars in the background, that dun 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 dun. Just when I listen to that score, which I have on my phone, and I listen to it, I can just hear Spider-Man soaring through the city. Just, yeah, this is a score that has that Spider-Man sound. I love it. I love it way more than Michael Giacchino's Spider-Man score, which means of all the Spider-Man themes that we've had in live-action Spider-Man movies, there have been 4 of them: Danny Elfman, James Horner, Hans Zimmer, and Michael Giacchino's. I like half of them, and I dislike the other half. So there you go. Do with that what you will. So in the end, is The Amazing Spider-Man 2 convoluted? Yes, for sure. No one can deny that. But I thoroughly enjoyed most of the story arcs in this movie, even the Harry Osborn one for some of it. I like Peter and Gwen's storyline. I like where that goes, because it is very relatable to a point. I love Jamie Foxx as Electro, so I am glad that he's going to return in some way, shape, or form. I can't wait to see what happens there. Because Jamie Foxx is a very talented dude, just in general. He's a fantastic artist. He's a great singer. He's a great actor. So just the fact that he's going to be in another movie has me psyched. I love the action in this movie. I love the design of everything. The visual effects in this movie are awesome. The score is amazing. Just a couple of the story arcs in this film I felt did not have to be in there, like the Green Goblin thing and the parents thing. So those do actually bring the movie a little bit down for me. But other than those things, I feel this Spider-Man movie is solid Spider-Man. And if this live-action Spider-Verse does go through with Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3, I would love to see Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man come back, along with Tobey Maguire. That would be awesome. So, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? How does it compare to all the other live-action Spider-Man movies for you? And what do you think Jamie Foxx's new version of Electro is gonna be like? And would you like to see Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man come back, along with Tobey Maguire? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.